Okay, boom. Welcome back to the Sports Business Take Podcast, your home for sports industry news with a little personality. I'm Paul Hine. He is Zach Creekmore. How you doing today, Zach?
I'm doing good today, Ball. It's been a good week, good start to the week. It's a Tuesday. It's early. We're being productive. We're on the pod. I'm in an apartment in New York. I've got flowers behind me, a lamp in front of me, and possibly the worst lighting setup I could possibly have. But I feel like I'm looking okay. How are you doing, Paul?
I'm back at UMass and been back for about a week now. Moved in last Tuesday. Classes started on Thursday. And to be honest, dude, I'm not really interested in most of my classes.
What's the class lineup?
This morning this is the one that I would say I'm actually interested in. I had food preservation, like
Okay.
nutrition and how, like food science, basically.
Okay.
How food affects us and, what it's made of and different types of chemicals we put into it and processed, unprocessed foods, that kind of thing.
Very informative.
Which I actually enjoy because, like, I'm super into my nutrition and stuff. So that's, like, the one class where I'm like, okay, cool. But that's, like, a required class. I have to take that for physical science as a gen ed. And then I have world history, which, whatever, I'll take it.
Don't care. Easy class.
It's a gen ed. Like, I just have to do it to graduate. I have intro to law, which seems interesting based on what I saw from it yesterday. We're gonna do a bunch of mock trials and stuff, so that'll be fun. But, like, obviously not something that I am professionally interested in at all.
Right.
So it's just something I need to graduate from the business school here, and then I have statistics, which I have this afternoon, which is again, just something I need to graduate.
Just lots of gen eds.
It's funny because the way St. Joe's did it, like how they had you take your major classes your freshman and sophomore year. At least that's what they had me do.
Okay.
So that's what they had me do. And now I'm like, okay, so basically all my major classes are done and I'm just taking stuff that I need to graduate.
Yeah, I had a totally different path.
Interesting. Well,
I would have a gen ed and then I'd have 1 or 2 or 3 gen eds.
Yeah.
And then I'd have one major class, especially my freshman year. But I think by the end of my freshman year, I had all but one of my gen eds done.
Yeah, I went the complete opposite route.
Yeah, because I was doing just fun shit sophomore and junior year.
Yeah, I am happy to be back. I will say, I've had a great time since being back. Filmed women's basketball already, doing it again tomorrow night.
That vid did look really good.
Really? I appreciate it.
I did. I like that.
Dude, I think my favorite video that I've done recently was the NEB Catchers Clinic one. I filmed it for Northeast Baseball as a freelance video right before I left to come back. It was 3 days before.
Yeah, I remember it.
And I loved it because I got to use copyrighted music. I changed it a little bit, obviously, so that it wasn't copyrighted, elevated the pitch and that kind of thing, added a reverb. But here they don't let us do that. It's all creator music, which I'm fine with. But it was kind of fun to be able to use a Kendrick Lamar song. So I used TV Off, and I lined up the little beats in TV Off with catcher's mitt pops because it was a catcher's clinic, and that was one of my favorite things. I got a new shotgun mic for Christmas to go on the camera. So that was really fun to use that. And it's done pretty well. It has 11K views right now. So
that's awesome.
It's not bad. Yeah. So happy with that. And I don't think we've done this in 2 weeks, basically.
No, we're pretty much bi-weekly at this point.
Yeah, we are pretty much bi-weekly at this point. I mean, it's just tough. This week, obviously, I was just getting used to getting into the swing of my classes, which I've now been to all of them as of today. But also crazy weekend for me. Turned 21 Saturday night Sunday, Saturday night. It was pretty fun. I can't lie. We went to the best bar in town right at 12. They let me in, and the bouncers were so happy. They were all like, "Happy birthday, dude. Have a great night." It was so funny. And I didn't know if I was going to get in at 12 because I didn't know if your ID switches on right away or not.
That doesn't make sense. Is your ID digital and has a little thing that changes? No, dude, you're 21 at midnight. Come on.
What they do is they literally just take it and put it in a box to see if it's fake or not. Scanner. It was 11:50 when we got there. They told me okay, wait off to the side for 10 minutes and we'll let you in at 12. I told them it was my birthday, and I was like, okay. So I waited for 10 minutes. I handed the guy the thing, and I'll never forget like seeing that green check mark. I
Yes.
was so happy. But yeah, no, it was a great weekend, and looking forward to having a fun semester here for sure. And actually, I don't think I told you this. For spring sports, we're switching up the way we're doing kind of like video assignments. So I'm assigned to one team, and I got baseball. So
Oh, that's
I'm like
fire, dude.
the
You
video
must be
guy
so
for
hyped.
baseball. Yeah,
You must be
I'm
so
really
hyped. I
excited.
love it.
I'm really excited for that. So still for now doing winter sports, but when the spring sports start, I'll be like the main video guy for baseball. That's going to be really fun. I'm actually really happy about that. Other than that, just been back at UMass. Happy to be back. Dude,
Just
the food is just as good as I remembered.
that's
All
the
right.
most important part. I love that.
It really is too. It really is. Like being able to get the grab and go, like I can go get a takeout box of like eggs, bacon, hash browns just every morning.
You gotta
That's what I
stop.
do
I haven't eaten yet
every
today.
morning.
Like,
Yeah. Okay.
I'm like, I
Um,
haven't had breakfast yet.
yeah. No, it's been fun. I'm happy to be back, but I am a little rushed on time today because I have a class at 1 and it's 11:15 right now. So let's just jump right into it. We have a lot of basketball news to talk, and we also have some branding news with the Utah Hocke Club. So let's start with basketball news. Obviously, over the weekend, the Luka Doncic trade happened. Luka Doncic to the Lakers, 80 to the Mavericks, with a few other picks thrown in, but like let's be honest, that was the main part of the trade,
Absolutely.
and shook the sports world completely. The one thing that is the interesting piece to me about this is he now can't sign a supermax contract because he's with a different team, and you need to stay with the same team to be able to be eligible for a supermax contract. So he lost out on $100 million just because he got traded.
Effectively, yeah, exactly. He
That
lost out on. I think the exact number was a $345 million contract.
Yeah, and now he's
That's what
going
he
to
would
get
sign.
like 225 or something like that.
Exactly, which is
So
big change.
yeah, huge. So to me, I'm thinking in terms of like negotiations, bargaining agreements, that kind of thing. How does the players union allow that in the CBA that a situation like that can happen? Because that doesn't seem fair to a player that just because a team wants to trade him, that he can lose out on $100 million. That is not his fault. He didn't earn that $100 million drop. He
Mm.
didn't earn to be traded. Honestly, that's why everyone is so shocked because he's a top 5 player in the NBA. And now it's like, if I'm him, I'm kind of mad that I lost out on $100 million just kind of arbitrarily. So I would think that maybe in the next NBA collective bargaining agreement that there would be some caveat to that rule where if a team trades a guy that he is still going to be eligible for the supermax contract versus leaving under his own willpower.
Yeah, 100%. I think what's really interesting to see here is how the rest of the sports world always responds to these types of trades in the NBA. Because really, or NFL, I don't know if it's the same way in the NHL, but a lot of the European sports, just looking at soccer, like Matt Hummels commented on this and said, praise the Lord that I cannot be traded like this. Because
Right.
it's simply put, right, it's almost inhumane treatment to go to somebody where you've poured your heart and soul into this team and you're a leader and a really big impact for this franchise, and now all of a sudden they're like, yeah, sorry, on a coins toss you're flying to LA in about 25 minutes.
Yeah,
Like, not
that is
obviously
crazy.
not 25 minutes, but metaphorically you're flying to LA in
No,
4
right.
hours
Like tomorrow.
and
Yeah.
you're like, what?
Yeah.
You had no idea about this. You don't even have a choice or an option.
Yeah.
So it's totally interesting to see, partially you talking about law and law classes, the contract law aspects of it. How is this how the NBA players are treated? And how
Exactly.
are they?
That's what I was getting at.
And then also, I think the money is a smaller portion of it, and I get why the Supermax doesn't transfer to LA because Luka actively has had no impact on LA. And needs to build that kind of character piece. And obviously, he's 25. He'll probably have another option at a Supermax. I don't exactly know how that works.
Yeah. Well, he'll sign it. He'll probably
sense.
sign a 4-year deal now, and he'll be able to be a free agent again at 29 or 30. So he probably will get another deal. But I guess the point is, yeah, maybe it doesn't transfer over, but he should not be ineligible for it. You know what I'm saying? Like
Absolutely.
that doesn't seem right to me that he like cannot earn that You know, he should at least be able to have the opportunity to earn that. Maybe it doesn't happen this year, but maybe like the door's open for, okay, if the franchise wants to pay him that supermax contract after a year of being there, that they can
No,
do
I
that.
agree.
You
You're
know?
right. I agree.
Sort of like how in the MLB there's arbitration years where you can just negotiate for a 1-year deal until you become a free agent. The NBA kind of needs something similar in relation to this scenario, because a player can get screwed out of $100 million, you know, and that doesn't seem kind of equitable at all, you know.
Well
And
said.
I was watching SportsCenter yesterday, and they were talking about how a lot of NBA owners have been trying to maybe sway the model more toward like the NFL, where the owners have more of the power than the players do, or the players union doesn't have as much power as in the current version of the NBA. And I wonder how much this swings that, you know, whether the players are fighting back against having a trade like this, or whether the owners kind of take this as like a, okay, well, I can trade anybody now, you know, like it's open season on trades. The NBA trade deadline is in, you know, 2 days at 3:00. So like, I wonder if we see 2 or 3 more like huge blockbuster deals of players that you would not expect to go just because of the fact that Luka went, you know. And for the Lakers, this is a freaking steal, right? They're getting the face of their franchise for the next 10 years at $100 million less than they would have if they had tried to sign him in free agency. So, but for the Mavericks, everybody's kind of looking at them like, why? What's the thinking behind that? And I've heard a lot of people say like, oh, it's his defense, or he's not conditioned well, but he's still like a top 5 scorer in the league. Like, I don't understand. He's a generational player. That's not something you throw away. I feel like those kind of skills can be taught. You can teach a guy to work out in the off season. You can teach a guy to have maybe better habits if you don't think he has good habits. You could, I don't know, get a good coach and teach him to play defense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not that they don't have a good coach, but I'm just saying you could maybe hire more of a defensive assistant coach or something, you know, to help him along. But I guess my point is, this just doesn't make any sense. And I think that's why the whole sports world has kind of erupted to it.
Absolutely. I think to that point, the craziest stat that I have seen is this trade is literally not possible in 2K.
Whoa.
Someone tried to do this trade in 2K, and it was said this trade cannot happen. Like, it just genuinely is impossible.
Crap. So like in all hypothetical scenarios in a video game where most things are possible, you cannot trade Luka Doncic to the Lakers for Anthony Davis, but you can do it in real life.
Absolutely.
Wow.
That's the crazy stat here.
Wow. Yeah, that is absolutely insane. We'll have to see how that looks long term. Maybe the Mavericks are smart and they saw something that everybody else didn't, because one of the NBA analysts on SportsCenter pointed out something interesting to me, which was that the Mavs know more about him than anybody else in the league, because he's been in their building his whole career. So I wonder if they know something, like maybe there's an injury that's going to pop up soon randomly, you know what I'm saying, that the rest of the league doesn't know about, or that they see something deteriorating in an x-ray or whatever. But if that's not the case, then yes, I can understand wanting some more defense on your team, but transactionally, like, it just doesn't seem like a smart business move. Because think about it like this, in terms of dollars, the face of your franchise was Luka. He was bringing in for you probably, argue 25% of the money that you were making. I'm just throwing a number out on the wall. I mean, that's not a crazy thing to say in terms of jersey sales, in terms of people watching the game, in terms of social media following, all of that wrapped into one. When you're watching the Mavs, you're going to watch Luka, you know, and in recent years, it's been more Luka and Kyrie. But now that he's gone, like, I feel like you're going to lose a significant portion of your fan base that's just going to say, I'm not going to watch you guys anymore because you traded away my favorite player. So we'll have to see how it works out revenue-wise for them as well.
Absolutely. The jersey sales, the ticket sales, it's all going to be really big factors. I forget. I saw the number of Instagram followers they lost, and I believe it was something crazy. Like, they lost a lot. It was in a video I was literally watching minutes ago.
I'm going to look this up right now. Oh my God. It was Okay. It was like one of the first things that I typed how many Instagram follower and then it just filled in. So a lot of people must be searching on this. So they've lost nearly 1 million Instagram followers since.
The number I heard was 800K, and that sounded so crazy to me that I needed to like fact check myself before I said it because I wasn't sure if I heard it wrong while I was getting out of the shower. But 800,000 people have unfollowed them on Instagram because of this one instance. That is the impact that Luka Doncic, had to this franchise and the impact that they are losing. Now, it may turn around and be great for them, but the other context of this video was, and this is like maybe getting into conspiracy theory space, but that the people who bought the Mavericks from Mark Cuban, right? They are a historic, not gambling family, but they own and build, they own and build casinos, right? So they are trying to build a casino and resort in Texas. Now, Texas, gambling is illegal.
Yeah.
So they can't build a blank and resort, right? A casino and resort in Texas. So they are trying to scare tactic the government of Texas to legalize gambling so they can build this, or they're going to move to Las Vegas.
So you're saying, like, hypothetically, they could be just trading the best players on the Mavs to get the government of Texas to cooperate, or they're going to tank
100%. Scare tactic, or we're moving to Vegas.
That is a crazy conspiracy theory.
But that was this video that I saw. Like, okay, we bring in this amount of tourism and interest into your state that like it is valuable. Yeah, we're gonna effectively say and get rid of all that
franchise,
and take the franchise with us to Las Vegas if you don't comply. So it is the ownership group trying to do blackmail.
I don't think I'm willing to go that far yet.
Now, yes, I listened to the video and I was like, that's a bit absurd.
Yeah, I think maybe
you never know.
I think maybe there would have to be a string of moves to be able to come to that conclusion. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure. They still have a super team.
Right. If they traded Kyrie right now, then I would say, okay,
just
maybe there was something fishy.
He's gone tomorrow.
Yeah, right. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see how that works out. But I think this is one of those sports history moments where you kind of like remember where you were and everybody around you when the news dropped.
Even LeBron at dinner.
It was my birthday night, and like everybody in the bar around me was like, "Oh my God, Luka got traded! Luka got traded!" Everybody pulled out their phones like immediately. You could see like half of the crowd in there just immediately looking at the news, and I think that's one of those really cool things about sports that kind of brings people together. Where it's like you remember those big moments, those big wow moments, and this was one of those in not like this was one of those in a dramatic way. This was a dramatic sports moment that will go down in history, and I think that's why it's
considering Mats Hummels, who plays in Italy, was talking about this big time dramatic.
Right. Big time. You have athletes from basically every sport weighing in on this on Twitter, or on Instagram, and it's like, wow, this is a really big thing, and not to be overhyping this trade, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of different paths that you could go down about why this happened. And if you watch the press conference of the GM of the Mavericks talking about it, he's very obviously nervous, like when he's talking about it, like why they made the decision. So, we'll see how this works out. Absolutely. I think this is either one of two things. It's a stroke of genius if this works out, or could go down as like one of the most pivotal trades in a league's history, any league's history. So
another thing that I saw, and now I realize we're getting ran away with this, but there's just
I know we're taking up a lot of time with this,
and there's so much interesting things on this topic because like I was wishy-washy about talking this on the podcast at all because I know it's so
so was I,
but let's connect all these crazy things that I've heard because I scroll through Instagram way too much and we all know it. But the NBA viewership is down. And I'm not sure exactly what the percentage is, but it's down this year quite significantly from what I've heard. Is this a move to rebuy the attention? You just said People are in the bar opening their phones and their eyes are on the NBA again. People are in every country of the world and their eyes are on the NBA again.
Think about it like this: the Super Bowl is this week, and this is
what we're talking about. It's not the Super Bowl. We're talking about Luka Doncic to the Lakers.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
this is how the NBA wins back their audience. This is how the NBA wins their audience. Right now, necessarily. Obviously, again, conspiracy theory. There's no way Adam Silver called up the Mavericks.
I was going to say, so are you saying
you're going to do this crazy thing and make it happen? Like, dude, you're going to do it. Like Adam Silver did not do that. He's not going full Emperor Palpatine, shock and lightning at these people.
No.
Like, do it. No. But this really is a tactic of like, okay, we feel like we're down in our audience. We need to be better. What can we do to shake up this league to make it interesting?
This is going to be a big jump in viewership, because think about LA is like one of the biggest markets in the country.
100%.
You know? And the Lakers brand, if you want to talk about, we're going to talk about branding in just a second, but the Lakers brand is one of the most recognizable brands in all of sports. So now you're talking about a guy who you have another face of a franchise who is, they went from Kobe to LeBron, now that they have LeBron, and I know there was a gap in between, but they have LeBron right now, and then they're going to have Luka, and there's going to be a little overlap there, and then they're going to have Luka for, probably assuming, that they sign him to 1 or 2 contracts the next at least 5 or 10 years. So
he could be there for the rest of his career.
Yeah, he could be, and, it's funny. I was thinking about, we were talking about how it's, you pack your stuff up and get on the plane tomorrow. That is one of the most untalked about parts of professional sports, where an athlete can get traded and just have to move their entire life on a whim the day after they find out, And he had just bought a house, by the way, in Dallas last week, a $15 million house, reportedly. So
that's crazy.
Like think about if you're in that situation, what do you do? Like, you just bought a house in the city you have to move out of. Can you turn around and sell that house?
You haven't even moved into the house yet.
Right, exactly. So
all your shit's still in your apartment.
Yeah, right. Like how do you deal with that situation? I think this is one of the most untalked about parts of professional sports, is when an athlete gets traded, what does that process actually look like behind the scenes? I don't think we get a good sense of that, and I don't think they would kind of want us to be able to see that. Like, but that is a big part of it, and he was very sad in his message, like his away message. I saw it on Twitter from Dallas, but also kind of exciting, that he gets to go to one of the biggest markets in the league. We'll see how this trade works out long term, but definitely something that shook up the sports world. And that's all I have to say on that. If you want to move on, we can.
Good. Let's move on.
I have a half hour.
Way too much. We've spent a lot more time on that than we planned to. But I know. We have to say, like, it is one of the most interesting happenings in sports history.
Yeah.
And it's only like, it will be so interesting to see the impact that it has, not only on the consumer, but also on the NBA as a league.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of basketball and the NBA, so let's just go right over to this. So Caitlin Clark denied the NBA's 3-point offer to participate in their 3-point competition. And I was thinking about NBA All-Star Weekend and how it's kind of, how the criticism of the NBA All-Star Weekend is, they don't play defense, and it's kind of like just a high-scoring game that, isn't really super competitive, even though there's all the stars of the game are there. How would we make it better? And I was thinking about, how can we include the WNBA or women's basketball in that? And I know, a lot of people would have maybe some safety concerns or whatever, but I thought this was really interesting that the NBA offered Caitlin Clark to be in the 3-point contest. And so she denied it because she wanted to participate in the WNBA one and promote that up, which completely makes sense to me. Like, I get it, but they are owned by one entity. The NBA and WNBA are owned by the same people. So why not have some sort of collaboration? I think it would be good for both leagues if there was at least some co-mingling or co-participation in All-Star Weekend. Maybe it's at the same time in the same city, and you stagger events one after the other, that kind of thing. Even if they're not like participating in the same event. Like let's say the WNBA players participate in the 3-point contest and the dunk contest, but then you have separate games, maybe on the same day even, and you make one primetime and one either before or after it. So I just thought that might be an interesting way to kind of cross over. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we talk about it a lot of the concept of collaboration, right? Where entities can come together, they can create something awesome and really create an interesting user experience for their audience. And often those things are very successful, right? People want to see things come together, people come together and create things that are unique. The NBA could definitely do that here. The WNBA could definitely do that here and create something that's like very collaborative and very fun. I think the challenge becomes that I really think the NBA audience is a bit different from the WNBA audience.
True.
Obviously, you have people who love basketball and probably may watch both, right? So those classic, like, I just love this sport. I want to watch it all the time, right? Like
Yeah.
me with soccer, I watch this sport. I love this sport. I want to watch it all the time. Me with tennis at the moment, like, I watch this sport. I've actually probably watched more women's tennis than I have men's, which is really weird. But let's also recognize, like, okay, who is the person you're trying to win? The person you're trying to win for the NBA is very different from the person you're trying to win for the WNBA. I see this relationship being far more advantageous for the NBA winning their female audience than the WNBA winning a male audience. And that's where the challenge becomes of, as a WNBA, it might be more realistic. As much as the collaboration would be cool for me to do my own thing and represent my brand more authentically than being the backup to the NBA.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And that was one of the things that I was thinking about when I was thinking about how could they cross over, was the NBA would really win some of the maybe female audience that they don't have that only watches the WNBA.
Exactly.
So you're right, though. Like, what is in it for the WNBA? And I guess my counterpoint to that would be they get to promote their stars on a bigger stage with more eyes than than they have, right? And their viewership is growing exponentially, and they're gaining more and more traction each year. They're still not at the level of the NBA because they've only been around for 20 or 30 years. So, how could they be? It's going to take time to build up, and they're growing exponentially, and that's great. But this definitely could help speed along the process too, especially with now they have the competition of the 3-on-3 Unrivaled League, and that competition within women's basketball of, okay, now we have two competing women's basketball leagues. And it's funny, I was on ESPN looking for things to watch last night, and there were like 4 Unrivaled games on ESPN. I was like, wow,
that's
okay.
impressive.
Yeah, right. I was like, okay, so this is being promoted just as much as the WNBA. So now that they have that rival, how can they separate themselves? And I think their connection to the NBA does make them different in that sense competitively than Unrivaled. But speaking of Unrivaled, I wanted to ask you, do you think, since there is no attachment between them and the NBA, and Unrivaled is on break at the same time as the NBA All-Star Weekend, which is in like 2 weeks, do you think that some Unrivaled players could just say, screw it, I want to make a guest appearance and participate in
I don't see
something
like
a three-point contest?
I don't see why the NBA would reach out to them because they're associated with an alternative league that would be competing with quote unquote the NBA's sister league if we're talking about the WNBA in that manner.
Yeah.
But I would say, like, sure, there's no reason they shouldn't, right? Promote your personal brand and make public appearances, right? Especially for people who are in these, I guess you could say, smaller sports spaces. Look at like Alona Maher, right? Women's rugby probably isn't massive on an international stage beyond the Olympics. She has made it massive, right? Her social media presence is a massive promotion and probably a way that she makes a lot of money. Maybe not a lot, but like Alona Maher makes money based on her having a social media presence and the strength of her personality, right? That's why she's successful, not because she's a great female rugby player, even though she is. These players who are in this league and want to grow it should absolutely be making public appearances, should absolutely be trying to grow their social. They can't just be a basketball player. They also have to be a personality. They have to offer that insight. And that's definitely a challenge. They can't just be like Paul George, or let's give an even better example. Like, they can't just be Kawhi Leonard, right? Like, Kawhi Leonard is great, and Kawhi Leonard is awesome. We all love Kawhi Leonard because he is a unique personality in a way that, like, dude's just a dude. Like, he shows up, he's like, hand me the basketball. I'm just going to go play basketball, right?
Right.
As a athlete in a smaller league, the power that you want to have to make your sport your life is often going to be through other channels. It's sad, but it's also a reality. Like, if I was a track sprinter and I was wanting to be a track star, like, I need to promote myself on social media. I need to connect with people and really represent myself as a brand and see how I can grow that into something larger. Am I founding my own run club? Am I founding my own running brand? Like, how am I connecting with brands in the city that I am? So, like, if I was a runner in New York City, how am I connecting and getting sponsored by Mint in New York and really being a brand representative for that throughout the running world? Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to, it's funny you brought up the word brand because I was literally just going to say a crossover between, whether you want to call it the WNBA and the NBA or Unrivaled in the NBA, whichever way you want to go, would be good both for the athlete, all of the athletes' personal brands, because it's like, oh, now you have the best men's players playing against the best women's players. And let's say, it's the 3-point contest and you have Steph Curry going against Angel Reese or whatever,
I've seen too many bad Angel Reese clips.
Think about great. I don't know why that was the name that popped in my head, but my point is it's something that we've never seen before. Therefore, Absolutely. It would be interesting and draw a new audience, and I think you could also use that. You were talking about the importance of social. That's really important for a league brand to say, hey, we're including other groups outside of the NBA.
A million times.
So I do think that that's huge for both personal and league branding.
Of course, I agree.
I'm hoping in the coming years that crossover happens. Maybe it even happens in 2 weeks and we don't know about it yet. You know what I'm saying? So, but speaking of branding, our last thing that I want to talk about is the Utah Hocke Club is trying to decide about their name right now. They don't preferably want to stay the Utah Hocke Club, although that is on the table. They were trying to change to the Utah Yetis. So they're a new expansion franchise in the NHL for those who don't know. And they tried to expand to the Utah Yetis, but then realized that they couldn't because of the Yeti Cooler brand. And they didn't want their fans to get confused. And B, they couldn't do it because of copyright issues.
Right.
Or patent issues. So the proposed names that are still in the running are the Utah Mammoths, the Utah Outlaws, and keeping the Utah Hocke Club name. Of those three, which do you like the best and why?
I think it's hard because I'm trying to think of like Utah as a state. What is like that identifying factor that you remember Utah for? Identify. This would be a crazy take, and I'm not going to say it on the podcast, but everybody knows what I'm thinking. Yes, pull it up.
Okay. So these are the logos, by the way. I just wanted to pull this up. So
thank you.
The top one is the Utah Hocke Club logo that would be staying if they kept the Hocke Club name. The Mammoths is the middle one with the tusks. I think that's tough, personally. I like that one. And then the third one at the bottom is the Outlaws. Right. So I do like both of the bottom two. I do think the top one is cool, but I don't think it kind of like, I get the mountains part of it, and there's big skiing atmosphere in Utah, but
of course.
I do think that doesn't kind of translate to it being just the Utah Hocke Club. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't get how this top logo maybe translates into what the Utah Hocke Club brand means. And obviously that they could explain that, and what their thinking was behind that. But I do think that in terms of branding, what would you rather see on a jersey of these three? Like what's the favorite for you?
I think it's hard. I'm not a big Mammoths guy. I don't know why. I'm just not. I don't think it plays well with the original name of the Utah, like Utah Mammoths. I don't think it flows nicely.
It doesn't slap off the tongue, you know
right?
What I'm saying?
I don't think Outlaws definitely does either, but I think it's a little bit better. And there's a lot of fun stuff that you could do with like pioneering, moving to the West, go like Midwest character. You could theme night. Why not have a joke shootout on the ice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's the turn, draw, like that type of fun thing. You could go into a lot of really cool character aspects with that, and I could see that going well. But really, I think this is a big difference in the branding of sports teams between, I guess you could say, American-minded people and European-minded people, right? So for me, when I think like Manchester United, it's Manchester United Football Club.
Yeah.
Right? Manchester is the city they're based out of. They're saying, we unite the city.
Yeah.
And we're a football club. Right? Now, obviously, they have a mascot. They're the Red Devils.
If you think about
right?
It,
so, the Utah Hocke Club could, for me, strictly say is the Utah Hocke Club. I actually totally, I vibe with that. Why not? Like, okay, maybe add one adjective to it. So, like, Utah United Hockey Club. Dude, I'm here for that. right?
Interesting.
Obviously make yourself a mascot. The mascot can go into the logo in the center, right? If you're the Utah United Hockey Club Outlaws, like you're the Outlaws, but you're also the Utah Hockey Club. There's no reason you can't have a mascot and a brand identity, but also staying as the Utah Hockey Club.
Yeah, that's
now.
interesting.
It's not an American or Western-centric idea of how the sports teams do it, right?
That's what I was going to say.
LA is the Lakers, right? You have the Clippers, right? You have the Rockets, right? It's all based on what is that one phrase name that you are, right? The Rangers, the Islanders, the Celtics, right? It's not like it would be a totally different idea of how most American sports teams, probably outside of the MLS, brand themselves, but it's totally a thing that you could do, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it absolutely is an option, but do you think that would resonate with an American audience? You know what I'm saying?
Probably not as strongly.
Especially, I'm going to use an example from the last couple of years. When the Washington Football Club was rebranding to be the Washington Commanders, they weren't selling that much merch because people knew that they were going to rebrand.
Right.
So let's say they choose Utah Hocke Club. I don't know if people are buying that much merch because it could change again. Sure. You know what I mean? In 2 years. So the Washington Commanders are now the Washington Commanders, and their merch sales, not only because they're good now, but have taken off because they have an identity.
True.
And I think when you're saying like we're the Utah Hocke Club, okay, but where's the identity with that? You know,
true.
Like what does that mean to the people of the state? I guess I'll use one from Boston, like the Celtics. You brought them up. There's a lot of Irish people in Boston, so that represents the heritage of the city in a lot of ways. So you think about, they chose the Outlaws because there used to be a lot of Outlaws that ran through Utah, and I think that's kind of a good way to represent the history of the city. And there was one about the Mammoths too. I forget what the backstory is, but there was a good reason for it. I remember reading about it. And I just don't think that Utah Hocke Club is going to resonate, you know what I'm saying, in terms of like, I really feel like I identify with this brand,
100%.
You know?
No, I think you're absolutely right, and you're onto a great point of, does that buy the audience? And I think for me is, I wouldn't change it if I was to stick with something. I'm going to decide something now, and I'm going to do it for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
Right? I think the Commanders are a great case study of like, they took the time to really make a clear decision on what they wanted to brand the team to. And I think they did a great job of it, and are sticking to it. Right. If I was to pick one, I would pick the Outlaws. I think it's the most fun. There's the most fun that you could do with it. Why not have people show up to games, and like every game they're just throwing cowboy hats onto the rink after a win? Right? Like that's a fun activation where you're interacting with the thing. Like, I like a lot of different ways you could go. I like Go Tusks. There's a lot of cool activations you could do. Like, Go Tusks sounds good.
Yeah, right.
But I also think that like there's a lot of validity to, you can sit there and say we are Utah Hocke Club and still have a mascot and a brand behind that connects with the identity. But if I was to pick one, I would go Outlaws.
And you know, the mascot doesn't have to always be like the same name. For example, I'm trying to think about, okay, the Patriots have Pat the Patriot. That's one that's the same name, right? For example, but the Savannah Bananas have, their mascot's name is Split, which is a banana.
Clever.
It's also not like this is Mr. Banana. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
So
I don't think they would make it. They wouldn't make it that simple.
No, I know.
I really hope not. They're paying people a lot of money to make these brands.
I know, but I was just using that as a hypothetical. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Like if you're the Utah Hocke Club and you make a different mascot, how do people identify with that mascot if you can't get like merchandise of that mascot, or you know, you can only see that mascot rarely on TV.
True.
And only if you're in person. You get more touch points with the fans if you have a brand that you can say, okay, this is going to look like this on the jersey. Instead of just Utah Hocke Club, you can put like a Mammoths patch on the side or a Outlaws patch on the helmet, you know. So I do think those options are the better of the two. What do you think? Okay, I know you're thinking something right now, but I want to ask you one question.
Yes.
What is the theme night that you would do if it was Outlaws, and what is the theme night that you would do if it was Mammoths? And I'm running out of time, but
okay. Let's run Mammoths real quick. You definitely do Ice Age.
Yes.
1,000,000%. Everybody show up at Sid the Sloth, right? Or like, I think that would be totally a good vibe. And we play the what's the Sid the Sloth song?
God, I don't know.
It's like an electric slide type of dupe.
I know what you're talking about. If you haven't heard
it, you should Google it right now. And I wish I knew the name of like what it exactly is, because I saw it recently, but I think that would be a great media moment if you are the Mammoths.
You know what else I was thinking is you can make mammoth hats, like head coverings with
Oh, of
tusks
course.
coming out the side with an eye slot
Yeah.
that you can breathe through, obviously. But imagine just a fan wall of mammoth masks.
Dude,
with the
massively
tusks sticking out.
intimidating. And I think
That
people
would
would
be
have a
really
lot of
cool.
fun with that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Outlaws, I don't know where you would go with it, but I definitely go like Wild West, and
Oh yeah, for sure.
like make something fun out of it.
There's so many things that you could do, like
Yeah.
so many things. I think throwing lassos onto the, like everybody brings a fake lasso. You can get one at the door and you throw it onto the ice after the game if they win. I think that's really fun. That
would be fun too.
Um,
Lassos, hats.
yeah,
I would stay away from guns just because
probably
it's more of
yeah.
a social issue. You
Probably, yeah.
You totally could do like the pop guns. Like this is everybody.
Yeah,
just,
like you know how
you know what I'm talking about, like the cap guns.
Yeah, I do. You could do like fake smoke. Patriots shoot off the muskets in Gillette. They have
Exactly.
the fake smoke come out, or Bayern always has the fake smoke in their crowds. That kind of thing. So
Flares.
Huh?
That wouldn't work in a hockey stadium.
No, that wouldn't work at a hockey stadium. But the concept is relative, you know.
Yeah,
so
of course.
I do think there's a lot of different directions that you could go with that. Even I don't know if this would work or not, but somehow in between periods as an intermission, having one of those bull riding things, the fake bulls that you could go down.
That would be sick. Yeah.
You could challenge a fan to stay on for 30 seconds or whatever, and if they do, they win, $500 or whatever it is.
That would be sick.
Choose the amount of money that you want.
That's a great activation, Paul.
Yeah, no, I think that would be cool. So there's a lot of different directions that you can go with it, which is why I would be more excited about Outlaws or Mammoths than I would about Utah Hocke Club. But that's just my personal opinion.
Absolutely. And I think for me, it's going to be difficult because, like, obviously I'm not from Utah, nor have I ever been to Utah. So the hardest part is, like, I don't know the culture.
Yeah,
right? I
don't know what they're like. Yeah.
Like, I love the Utah Jazz, and I love that cultural aspect of it. I don't know if like Utah has a really strong or historic jazz scene or not.
So actually, the Jazz moved to Utah from somewhere else. So
right, so they stuck with the name, right? So obviously, like doesn't necessarily. Obviously, Utah Jazz is just a cool name. I've always liked their name and their branding, with the music note and everything. But I think there's a lot of things that you could do. But I would definitely go more the Outlaws route. But Outlaws and Mammoths, I like. I will say. I'll respect Utah Hocke Club if they were to stick with that. Totally a name. That's fine. There's nothing. There's nothing to be like.
Point. That's
the point.
Name. It's
a name, and it's not a problem. Make your branding, stick to it, and you could still do like these fun Mammoth theme nights. You could still do these fun cowboy theme nights. Like you can totally still connect with those identities and why they interact with Utah. There's no reason to stay away from that.
Absolutely.
Because you're not choosing them as your name.
Yeah, for sure. I do think what you can't do, though, is you can't choose one of these now and switch again in 3 years.
Absolutely.
This is the identity, and whatever you choose now has to be the choice. But what I do like about it, and I don't think we've mentioned this yet, and I'm going to really quickly because I have to get out of here in less than 10 minutes, but they are letting their fans vote on the identity of the club, which I think is really cool. And, I've told you I've read, Fans First by Jesse Cole, and I'm applying to the Bananas and all that. So I'm in that mindset. This is really a fans first action by a team that I don't think it's pretty unique. We don't get to see this very often, where you have an expansion franchise and they let their fans choose the name of the team. That's pretty cool. So their fans are voting at the games. So fans who attended the team's game against the Pittsburgh Penguins on last Wednesday, were invited to vote on the franchise's long-term name, and voting will continue at home games on Friday, Sunday, and Tuesday. So we'll know by like next week-ish or maybe the week after what it's going to be. But I do think that's a really cool piece of they're letting the people that matter to them, which is their fans, choose what is going to matter to them. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
What they identify with. So I do think that's probably the coolest part of this story.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it ties back really great to an episode a while ago we did with Cathal Conlon.
Yes.
And really how the Revs rebranded and what their rebranding was, but how integrated their fans was into that experience and that what they were doing, and just how crucial that is. So I really think, obviously, that is proper sports operations. How can you interact with your fans and invite them to these choices that you are making? They are the people that are invested in you. right? How can you show that you care, that they're invested in you, and bring that impact? So really cool.
Absolutely.
Great work from Utah. I think obviously there's a lot of fun things. We were talking about helmets, all right, and I'll make it quick. But the helmet, why not make the helmet a cowboy hat? Like,
yeah,
that would be sick, right? Why not do that? Now, obviously, it wouldn't be actually a cowboy hat, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
and everything.
yeah. No, I get what you're saying. It would have to comply with like safety regulations.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
whatever,
no, I'm thinking same hockey helmet, nothing changes, but you just have like, it looks like a cowboy hat type of like
on top.
No, like not literally, but like it's a print.
Yeah, okay, yeah. You
like
can
with shadowing and shading, and you can create a bit of depth to it and make it look good.
That would look sick with the goalie masks. That's one of my favorite things.
Fun.
When I'm shooting hockey, I love shooting the goalie masks because they always have the custom designs. Like that is one of my favorite things about shooting hockey here at UMass is our goalie has a sick helmet. So that I love getting shots of that. So there's a lot of opportunities for that for the helmets as well, for sure.
Awesome.
All right, man. I unfortunately have to go because I have class in an hour and I got to get lunch. But thank you guys for listening. We appreciate it. Let us know your thoughts on both all the NBA stuff that happened, including the Luka trade. I know it's probably a little over talked about at this point, but I
think we shared fun stories and connected it. So
yeah, let us know if you agree or disagree with kind of our assessment of the whole situation.
Are you here for the conspiracy theories?
That too. And let us know which hockey club name that you like for Utah and what you think they should choose in 2 weeks. So, all right. Thank you guys as always for watching, and smash that like and subscribe button and comment on our stuff. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify. Check us out. We appreciate it. So thank you guys, and we'll see you soon.
Cheers.